Manchester go away to Bournemouth at 3:30 this Saturday in what is, as is the case every week, a must-win game for Erik ten Hag and his men. This is a chance for Bournemouth to do the double over United, having won the reverse fixture 3-0 back in December. And with United having gone on a run of 6 away games without defeat, not conceding a goal in 4 of them and only conceding 2 goals in the 2 other games, United have now gone on a run of conceding in every one of their last 8 away fixtures, having shipped 17 goals in the process. It's a worrying time for Ten Hag. There's talk about him being aware that Ineos are speaking with other managerial candidates, which it's now being reported that the playing squad have noted a downturn in his demeanour and his energy. So I'm hoping that's not the case, because a man that believes he has no future has nothing to fight for, and United's already awful season is going to go into a tailspin. So I'm hoping that those rumours are not correct. Having said that, United have the second worst shots against in the league, behind only Sheffield United, having faced 560 shots so far this season. And they have the third highest expected goals against this season, with, I believe, between 56 and 57 goals expected against. United's form is all over the place, and pundits far and wide are lauding United as probably one of the most entertaining teams to watch, but not always for the right reasons. It's never a boring game with United. It's end-to-end attack, defenders running back to their goal to close distance, to try and regain possession with, opposition players just sauntering through our midfield. Casemiro is a shadow of his former self and is just not the player that we signed or the player that we saw last year, and it looks like his legs have just finally given up. We see it happen to some players. We saw it happen to Rooney, Eden Hazard. We've seen it happen to players where they just can't do it anymore. And Casemiro looks like he has firmly fallen into that bracket. As such, I think there's a different way United should approach this game. And let's take a look at my predicted 11, how I think United need to approach this game to try and ensure some semblance of stability and control on the game and try and come away with 3 points. So with United's defence taking consistent hammerings over the last few weeks, the defence kind of picks itself at the moment. So I think it's quite clear that we're going to see Willy Kamwala coming back into the side, having done so well and getting man of the match against Liverpool. And Harry Maguire doing quite well beside him as well, providing some experience and stability and a little bit of leadership in the back, because God knows we need it. So even though we've been a bit porous at the back, I think this is going to be a pretty decent lineup for us, with Dalot, of course, coming onto the left-hand side in the absence of any fit left back, and Aaron Wan-Bissaka coming in on the right. I've chosen to drop Casemiro for this game and bring in Sofyan Amrabat purely because Casemiro just cannot be trusted in the middle of the park anymore. He does offer some sort of an attack going forward, but so does Scott McTominay, but that is not a reason to include him in the team. His primary role within the team is to screen the defence. Now, is he being exposed as a result of some of Erik ten Hag's tactics? Undoubtedly. But is it Erik ten Hag's fault that Casemiro can't run anymore, doesn't seem to be covering space in the way that's required for a Ten Hag system? That's not Ten Hag's fault. Casemiro's form has plummeted very rapidly and significantly, and it's leaving our defence massively exposed. So for a game like this, I would want Sofyan Amrabat in beside Manu to provide some sort of cover. I'm quite confident Casemiro is going to get the nod and going to get the start, but if this was my predicted 11, I would have Casemiro on the bench and Sofyan Amrabat get the nod to start this game, because Casemiro just has not warranted his place in the team, and in fact I believe he's actually quite dangerous. for allowing attacks happen and letting the game pass him by. I just don't think he's able to hack the pace of the Premiership, and as such, I think Sofyan Amrabat should be given the nod. Definitely ahead of Scott McTominay. I think Amrabat's got a little bit more of a defensive mindset than McTominay does. I think McTominay is going to want to be the hero and bomb forward, score a few goals, that type of thing, which we just don't need, and we can't leave Kobbie Mainoo isolated, particularly with a weakened backline behind us. So I would have Sofyan Amrabat there, but I am quite convinced that Casemiro is going to get the nod, and we'll see a Casemiro, Mainoo, Bruno Fernandes trifecta in the middle of the pitch. Up front, as anyone who watches this channel with any form of regularity will know, I am no fan of Marcus Rashford and want to see him on the bench. So I'd be quite happy to see Mason Mount get the nod to start. Now, there was talk about him starting against Liverpool, and he didn't because Erik ten Hag had expressed concerns with rushing him back too quickly and causing injuries like it had done with Shaw, like it had done with Martinez and other players within the squad. And I'm hoping that now he's developed enough game time and fitness to come into this game and start on that left-hand side and provide a lot more energy on that side than I think Rashford is capable or willing to provide. We saw him sauntering around, not chasing down players when within yards of them when they're in possession. More videos coming out of the last games he's been doing that in, and it's just completely unacceptable. So Mason Mount gets the nod, and I think Rashford should be packing his bags and getting ready for a transfer this summer, hopefully with pure FFP profit on any sale of his, and with Mason Greenwood. I think it's quite certain that both he, Varane and Casemiro, some of our highest earners as well, are going to be out the door for a variety of reasons. Højlund, I was toying with the idea of having Rashford up front, but I cannot get over his lack of commitment to the cause, despite interviews and videos that he's brought out. I just can't put him in a starting 11. So Højlund there, Rashford obviously on the bench to come in. If Rashford was to get on the pitch, for me, it would be to rest Højlund and bring him on to maybe grab a goal if Højlund hasn't been able to do so already. But in terms of wing play, with the fact that we do have weaknesses on the left and right hand side in terms of Wan-Bissaka, being exposed the odd time, and Dalot not being a natural left back, we will need people with high amounts of energy that will run and put in a defensive shift. And I think Garnacho and Mount are pretty certain to do that. If Mount was to come off, again, I could see Bruno maybe coming off and Mount going into that number 10, Garnacho going out left and Diallo coming in on the right. But that is how I would like to see our 11 line up. Now, with that being said, United's biggest issues of the last few games have been being played too easily through the middle. If you're going to allow a team space to run, let it be on the wide sides of the pitch. You cannot let them run through the middle of your pitch because it gives them options left and right. At least when they're being given space on either byline, the ball has to come in one direction. So at least allows you to put a player on his weak foot. You know which way the ball is going to go. Obviously, there are runners. The ball can go the other way if there is a runner, but there's far less options on the wide side of the pitch. And of course, you can use that byline as an extra man to choke the ball into certain areas. I would like to see a 3-3-3-1 with Kimwala, Maguire, and Wan-Bissaka basically acting as a three-man centre back defence, with Amrabat, Mainoo, and Dalot coming in as a kind of a defensive screen, because we've been lacking that in all our games. Now, Ten Hag does like to play two banks of five, but what's happened is we don't have the personnel to press the way he wants, because if you don't have the right technical ability to keep the ball and move the ball properly, if you lose possession, there is a giant gaping hole behind you, and we have seen that constantly, and it's why we have 560 shots against us. It's why we keep conceding huge amounts of goals late into the game when our legs are gone and we're not able to recover as well as we would have been in other parts of the game. So for me, I think we need to absolutely stockpile those central areas, and we need to have Dalot, Amrabat, and Mainoo. Of course, Amrabat is probably going to be replaced with Casemiro in the starting lineup, but I would like to see Amrabat there. I think his range of passing is still quite good, and I think he could help us set balls up with medium to long range passing up to those fast players that we have up front, and we need to utilise them correctly. So I'd like to see a 3-3-3-1 when out of possession, and I'd like to see us build through the middle with those kind of three banks of three. I'd also kind of like to see a 3-3-2-2 as well. Again, if we're not going to go wide, let's bring Mount and Bruno into those central positions. You might get an opportunity for some overlap with Dalot and Mainu kind of going into those wide areas. I'd like to see Mount and Bruno playing more from those central positions. And again, Amrabat may be able to come through for some late attacking play through that middle. Højlund and Garnacho maybe stretching players out wide, giving Mount and Bruno an opportunity to maybe get some shots off through the middle. But I think it's key for us to keep everything quite tight, compact, and stack out the middle of the pitch, because we just keep getting steamrolled through the middle. And I'd like to see us, just be a little bit more compressed in those areas. That's essentially it. I mean, this is a game where I think there needs to be quite a simple approach to how we want to do things. And I really want us to get through this game with no injuries. That to me is the priority. Of course, we want 3 points, but top 5 is going to be extremely difficult. We need to win every game between now and the end of the season. And we've shown, even when we're in control of games, that we're just incapable of keeping a lead. We got so few points out of our last 3 games where we were winning, and we were lucky against Liverpool. Chelsea had a good few chances as well. Brentford, there's no doubt that a lot of chances were there. Can United complain about the results? In some of the games, yes. In some of the games, no. But United are their own undoing a lot of the time. Yes, there's been some appalling refereeing decisions, penalties given that shouldn't have been given. But United fade late into games. We're not able to hold on to lead. So I want to see us compressed, compact, working for one another off the ball, forcing Bournemouth out wide. Dominic Solanke is going to be the main threat. Hopefully Maguire is going to be able to take care of him from any aerial threats, winning those aerial duels, any sort of wide balls that come in. Maguire, that should be bread and butter for him. And I don't want to see Maguire or Kamwala exposing any space between them and Onana by pushing too far up the pitch. That's why I want to see 4 banks of players as opposed to 3 or even 2 banks of 5. It just leaves too much space. Whether Ten Hag will do it is another question. But to me, this is how we should approach this game, 100%, and hopefully get those 3 points. I'd like to see Amad Diallo being brought on. I think it's quite clear Anthony will be brought on for his work and effort off the ball as well, to help on that right-hand side, to track back, to harry, harass, and to provide some energy on that right-hand side as well. So I'm fearful Diallo is not going to get a look in yet again in place of Ten Hag's favourite Anthony, but there are uses for Anthony with the way he plays, and maybe bring on Rashford later on in the game if we are chasing a goal, but I don't think he should be anywhere near that starting 11. So what are your thoughts, guys? What do you think we should be doing on this game? Do you agree with that lineup? Do you think Casemiro should be given another try? Would you have McTominay in there as well? Can he be trusted? I don't think he can. I think the only player that can even try and replace Casemiro, who does need replacing, is Sofyan Amrabat. So I think it's time we give him a start and see if he can put in any sort of a performance between now and the end of the season and change Ten Hag's mind, which I think is highly, highly unlikely. But even for personal pride, I think he'll want to do well and try and finish the season well. There's still FA Cup medals to be played for here. So players are still trying to put themselves in with a shout for playing those semi-finals and finals at Wembley. So there's still a lot to play for in terms of, silverware and medals and coming away with something. Wout Weghorst, for all the criticism he received, he still comes away with a League Cup medal, which I think he's going to cherish for a long, long time. And I think there's plenty of players in this team that should be, trying to still audition to make that final 11 for Wembley, if and when we get there, provided we get past Coventry, which is no guarantee. So please, guys, would love to hear your thoughts on this. My prediction for the game, I think it's going to be 1-1, maybe 2-2. I think we're going to draw this game. I think Bournemouth are in a decent vein of form. They are that kind of team that, they're not completely safe just yet. But I think we've got another draw here. But let's try and be positive. I'll say 2-1. But I just hope the backline can keep their nerve, hold their nerve, and the midfield give them the protection that they need going into this game. As always, thank you very, very much for joining me, guys. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this lineup. Who's in, who's out, who do you think should play, what your score predictions are. Enjoy the match Saturday, 3:30, I believe, and I will try and have an episode out for tomorrow as well. Just a little bit of news. I'm sure there's going to be team news available there as well, which might throw my lineup into disarray. God knows what's going to happen on the training pitch with United between now and the match, with injuries that can happen. But hopefully we get the 3 points, and I'll catch up with you soon. Thanks for tuning in. Bye bye.